Hey everybody, welcome to Monday Night Live in Lexington, you guys.
First of all, thank you all for being here as well. My name is Rachel Harrison. I'm an adult program coordinator. Miss Kathryn Kauffman, all the way from Lexington, joining us here tonight.
Guys, my name is Kathryn Kauffman, and I'm a psychic medium here in Lexington, Kentucky. Welcome to my every Monday night show. This is where we discover what and who we are in this journey called life. So welcome everybody. It's 7 p.m. Every 7 p.m. on Monday night, you can pretty much find me right here chatting with you guys on aspects of life and the paranormal. Let's do some quick shout outs. Shout out to Corey Southworth. What's the weather like up in the north where you are? Hey to Zoe Wheeler, Kathy Werner Harden, and hey to all you guys over here on Instagram. It's good to see you tonight. Betsy Conklin, POB 437, Ellie Beal. Nice to see you guys. And great to see all you guys over here on Facebook too. Hey, over on the professional page to Jenny Lynn Berkeley. Now, if you want to join in on the live chat as we go through the show, my personal page is the only page that I engage with on the live chat. So you can ask me questions about the content tonight. I did leave a link in the description box of the video for the personal page so that if you want to join in the chat, all you have to do is hit that link and come on over to the personal page. Hey to Lisa Page, special shout out to Barbara Bacon and Crystal Crazy, and Charlotte Northcutt. Now I am going to put a link in the comments to the YouTube channel so that if you want to watch past episodes of Monday Night Live, you can hop on there and enjoy some past episodes later. Now, for people that have been following and follow every day the Facebook page, you might be aware that my husband's father passed away this last week. And so I may look a little bit tired. We had a lot of things to do in the funeral. And I want to dedicate tonight's show to David's dad, Bobby Ray Hicks. And we're going to dedicate that to him. And I appreciate all the people that came out to the funeral. I want to tell you guys a special thank you. And another thank you to all the people that couldn't be there but sent flowers and well wishes. Thank you so much. We really appreciate either you coming or sending flowers. Hey to Steve Hawkins and Beth Enos. Thank you so much. And Colleen Conley Lamb. Thanks for joining me tonight. It's good to see you on here, Colleen. Let me check back and make sure that that I haven't missed anybody. I'm always afraid that I'm missing somebody. Thank you over here on Instagram, Ellie. Appreciate your condolences. Yes, so you're Cookie's daughter. I love Cookie. She's one of my most favorite girls in the whole world. Okay, so tonight's episode is all about the shadow self, and if you're not incorporating your shadow self, you're really functioning only at 50%. And a lot of us are not even aware of what the shadow self is, or even how to embrace that. How do we do that? Hey to Shavana, Angela, and Kimberly. So the shadow self is your dark side. That's the other side of your persona. The shadow side is sort of or shadow self is a psychological term. It's everything we cannot acknowledge or see in our own selves. It's like the dark side of ourselves. The shadow side is the dark side of the personality because it consists of primal type of things, primitive type things like negative human emotions, impulses like rage, envy, greed, selfishness, desires, striving for power or control over people or situations. We kind of perceive it as the inferior side of ourselves, the evil side of ourselves, or the unacceptable side of ourselves. But what we don't fully realize is that it's our responsibility to try to incorporate that energy somehow so that we can present ourselves as a 100% authentic, genuine person. Most of us are taught, and even as kids, I was taught that you lock that side of yourself away and you put it away, or you repress it and you don't let it out because we want to always be good. We want to always be nice. We want to always strive to be perfect. And if you do that, then you're only functioning at 50% of the total person. So Barbara says we can heal it. Yes, we can. And there are techniques to do that. And the techniques that we need to do that, I'm going to present in part number 2 for next Monday. But for tonight, I just want to explain exactly what the energy is and how we're taught to deal with it or not deal with it. Because when we repress that side of ourselves, it doesn't go away. It just becomes like a part of the unconscious and a part of the subconscious. And it's almost like we just don't want to think about it. So it sort of goes to that area of the mind in the unconscious. But then what happens is we don't have any control over it. And it can take over and do things and say things that we highly regret later. So it's really a good idea to learn as much as you can about your shadow side and to try to learn how to work with it, like Barbara said, how to heal it and try to incorporate it into daily life. Okay, and if any of you guys have any questions or you want to make a comment, just put them in the comments there and I will try to watch for those questions so that I can respond to them. Hey to Nancy DeMarco and Joy Rundle over here on the professional page. Now remember to you guys over here on the professional page, if you want to join in the chat, hop over to the personal page and then we can grab your comments and questions from there. Hey to Mindy Soleil and Stacy Williams and Lois Finley King. Okay, now this is a concept that Carl Jung wrote about a long time ago, and most of his writings about this is in Psychology and Alchemy. And he was stated as saying that there is no light without shadow and no psychic wholeness without imperfection. And that's a pretty poignant statement because we want to be a balanced person. We want to have yin and yang energy. And so we have to incorporate the dark side of ourselves in with the light side of ourselves. Often when people come in for a session and we find out that they are not using their shadow self appropriately, I kind of equate it to keeping the bad side of yourself locked away in a closet. I actually call it the bitch in the closet. So that side of yourself is locked away in the closet. And then what happens is when you're under stress or you're having a trauma or something else happens, that side of yourself is like release like a wild animal, and that side of yourself comes out. And that's when you say things, or you might do things that you wouldn't normally say or do, and people get hurt, you know, and things happen that are really kind of bad that you can't take back. And so that's the expression in an uncontrolled way. And that's kind of what happens when you repress all of that energy into the unconscious. Hey to Ashley McDonald and Madison Oliver and Stacy Williams and Mindy Soleil and Angela Monastero. Thanks for joining me. And a special shout out to Teresa Back. Hey, over here on Instagram to Joy Hall. Good to see you. I haven't seen you for a while. Thanks for joining us. So trying to not acknowledge that side of yourself can have really bad side effects to your life. So because, you know, that dark side that we disown can readily turn against us, and that shadow self really kind of represents the disowned parts of ourself that we don't acknowledge and we don't accept. So the problem is, once you do that and it goes into the unconscious and becomes repressed, it has its own mind almost, and it can go on autopilot, and it can assume control when you're under stress or under trauma, and that's when we start to see really bad things happen. So we do things we wouldn't voluntarily do and later regret it. We say things that we wouldn't normally say, and we, you know, most of those things you can't take back. You may have somebody who forgives you for saying it, but they're never going to forget it. And that's the bad reality of it. The unconscious can even show itself through facial reactions, which people notice, and they're not going to forget those either. So you can't really completely repress and then forget about all of the dark tendencies of your personality. So Barbara says usually it's a protective mechanism induced by trauma. Yes, absolutely. And Lois says, will it cause chronic depression? Yes, it will, Barbara. Lois, absolutely it will. And we're going to kind of go into that too. And let's see. A special shout out to my cousin, Grace Bone Pell. Big love and kisses to you. And let me hop over here to the professional page and see if we have any questions. Hey to Stephen Stewart. Okay, so now the thing about repressing is we usually want to focus on our strengths, the good things about ourselves, our good attributes. And, you know, let's face it, who wants to look at our weaknesses and our nastiness, our hate, our selfishness? We don't want to analyze those, and we don't necessarily want to look at those aspects of ourselves, but it's needed in order to accept this other half of ourselves and to learn how to work with it. So as you learn how to integrate this energy and to come to terms with the fact that 50% of you is made up of dark energy, you can actually see your whole self a little bit more clearly, and your energy becomes more grounded and more whole, and you're functioning more authentically with people. You're functioning as a 100% human and not half of a human. And you know how sometimes when you talk to people and you can see that they're trying to only embrace the good side of themselves, the 50% side of themselves, and you can almost feel that the other half is not there, that it's not, what they're presenting to you is not completely genuine. And your abilities, your psychic abilities, will recognize that you're not dealing with a 100% authentic type of person who's owning their bad side and who is accepting it. So when you accept the darker part of your persona, it's easier to forgive other people. It's easier to accept their dark energy if you can accept your own dark energy. And the more that you learn how to work with this type of energy, the more it can help you in daily life that you're going through on your life path. Like, for example, letting this energy out of the unconscious and the subconscious in increments and learning how to work with it helps to do other things for you that you wouldn't normally take on. For example, it helps you push yourself out of your comfort zone to grow and to do things that you wouldn't normally do. A lot of us get stuck in our comfort zone. It feels really good and it feels safe. And sometimes, in order to induce growth in your life path, it requires you to step out of your box or step out of your comfort zone. And unless you have that dark energy to push you out into an area that you're not comfortable with, you may just stay miserably in that box. And like Lois says, may become depressed because you're not pushing yourself to grow or to change. So that's one big benefit of learning how to work with your shadow, besides the first benefit, which is being able to accept yourself, and then that reflects onto others. That helps you understand other people and their shadow side, and so their bad behaviors, they don't affect you as much because you're accepting of that person's shadow self. Another thing that the shadow can really help you with along your life path is not only pushing you out of your comfort zone, but standing up for yourself. When you were a kid on the playground and you got pushed down by a big kid and beat up, it's the shadow self that causes you to get up out of the dirt and fight back, right? That's the energy you use to survive. It's the energy that you use to fight back, to say, no, you can't treat me this way, or no, you can't do me this way. Now, when you learn how to work with that energy constructively, then it doesn't get out of control, or it doesn't, go out of the realm of where you want it to go, and fighting back is done in a more constructive way than being uncontrolled, where it is locked away in the unconscious right now. So really standing up for yourself, pushing yourself out of your comfort zone, accepting other people's dark side are really beneficial ways to start working with your shadow to improve your life path. Hey to Melissa Lott, Phyllis Henderson, and Christina, and Carrie Gill. Thanks for joining us tonight. So when you accept your darker side, some good things actually can come from it if you learn how to work with that more appropriately. Another thing is, when you learn how to accept your own negative side, your dark side, other people's dark energy doesn't trigger you. If you repress this energy and you leave it locked away in the unconscious and the subconscious, that energy will respond to triggers, which is an uncontrolled type of response. That's when you're going to get into trouble. So you're not going to be as susceptible to subconscious or unconscious triggers that cause reactions rather than a metered response from you. When you learn how to work with this energy, you can respond in a metered way rather than an uncontrolled way. So you're going to have an easier time communicating with other people if you're not triggered by things that set off this dark energy. Hey to Yvonne and Barbara Smith. So in seeing yourself as you are, you have a really clear lens of the whole world and people in general. And you're presenting yourself as a 100% authentic person. It's a more realistic assessment of who you are and what you're about. And, you know, people can sense that if you're not authentic, they can sense that something's wrong, that you're not presenting yourself as a 100% authentic person with faults and bad traits. Hey to Julie Chi. So there's a clearer perception of yourself and other people. This also can lead to a bigger self-awareness, and it helps you assess your environment more appropriately when you can see things from a 100% authentic person view. So Charlotte has a question. Is this the same thing as shadow work? Yes. Shadow self, shadow work, it's acknowledgement of that other half that gets repressed, that we don't want to think about or we don't want to deal with, Charlotte. So, and back to Lois's question of, will it cause chronic depression? We're going to hit that right now, because it really does affect your physical being and your physical health. Because if you repress this energy, it's almost like you're dragging around an invisible bag of negativity that follows around you and is constantly draining you. And it's really exhausting to try to keep that energy, or it's in the closet, and not face it. It's exhausting. And the repression and the suppression of this other half of our total persona really is quite draining to keep all that energy locked away. And if you don't have 100% of yourself, you can't deal with life's challenges appropriately because simply you don't have enough energy to do it. Giving yourself the energy to do it is allowing that shadow self or the shadow side persona out to work with giving you enough energy to deal with life's challenges. That's another positive attribute about learning how to incorporate and how to deal with this energy is it is energy. It's 50% of your energy. And if you lock that away and you repress it, you're only functioning with 50% of your reserves to deal with life's problems. And in order to have the energy to face the challenges that you have to face, we need and we must have that other 50% that is normally repressed. Hey to Olivia Powell. So here's some things that we need to do. So some people that suppress or repress this energy can suffer from depression, fatigue, lethargy. They're always functioning in sort of an unexamined type of life, and it's a really narrow, they're functioning from a really narrow perspective because they only want to look at the positive things that they consist of, and they're really not even dealing with the negative things. Now, just because you're not dealing with it doesn't mean it goes away. It just means that it is now in the uncontrolled state. So these things can also lead to physical pain and disease with all this mental suppression that we do. So in Jungian shadow work, you're liberating a tremendous reservoir of energy when you invest in working with, accepting, and incorporating this other half of your energy that we normally deny. It can not only improve your mental health, but it can also improve your physical and emotional health as well. So this is a huge part of ourselves that we really need to embrace and learn how to control and utilize that type of energy. So shadow work can really bring a lot of strength and balance into your life and make you better equipped to deal with life's challenges. And trust me, Life can be really challenging. Okay, it can also lead to greater creativity, and that was one of the things that Carl Jung stated, was that it unlocks an extreme amount of potential, an extreme amount of creative potential as well. So creativeness is one of the things that he wrote about, and he said also that and other psychologists like Abraham Maslow and Carl Rogers found that it is a spontaneous occurrence in mentally healthy individuals, is this creative potential that unlocking the shadow side provides. It provides wholeness. It provides a complete picture of the human being. So things that we're going to cover next week are 5 tips for actually doing shadow work, and 5 ways to work with your shadow energy. Like, how do we let that beast out of the closet and start to work with it? What are the steps that we need to take to do that? And that's what we're going to look at next week. So Barbara says that at the Crystal Crazy Shop, we use our lepidolite window to heal trauma, like sexual abuse, traumas in our childhood, and death, bringing us closer to forgiveness and empowerment. So if any of you do work with crystals, I highly recommend Barbara Bacon's shop, Crystal Crazy, and they can guide you through the things that you might need to maybe start working with this type of energy, because we repress it for so long. Sometimes crystals and gemstones can really make it quite easier to start letting that energy up, looking at it, and start to deal with it. The crystals and gemstones can really kind of streamline the process and make things more comfortable for you to look at these aspects of yourself and to start incorporating and healing those types of energies to work towards becoming that 100% authentic type of person that we all need to be. We don't need to be functioning at 50% and denying that other half of ourselves that we could utilize to not only feel better, but to push us beyond the boundaries that we placed in front of ourselves that really block and limit us as humans. Another thing, I want to go into some things coming up. So coming soon, watch the Facebook posts for this. I'm working on a webinar on advanced psychic protection techniques for the home and property. Okay, these are coming up pretty soon. I will have these done, and they will be up for participation. Also, if you guys missed the 3 webinars that I did this summer, let me show you. The first one was healing uses of crystals and gemstones, and these are advanced courses. The second one was metaphysical uses of gemstones and crystals, and the third one was spiritual communication using gemstones. And this third one is really advanced, and it goes into more techniques that are used by mediums with working with crystals for communication with people who have passed on. If you want any of those webinars, just send me a message on Facebook, and they're $15 a piece, or all 3 advanced courses for $40, which is a real steal. And so I hope you guys enjoyed a sneak peek at starting to work with shadow, and we're going to go next week into exactly how do we do that, like how do we start, and what are the steps that we need to take to embrace this energy and to work with it and let it benefit our lives. I hope you guys enjoyed tonight's episode. If you want to watch past episodes of Monday Night Live, I did leave a link in the comments to the YouTube channel and in the description for the YouTube channel. Go back and watch some of the past episodes. There's a ton of stuff on there There's a 3-part series on there on what to do when hell comes for you. Okay, bet you didn't know about that one. Now, in your life, there are always hell states, states of hell, when you're sitting there going, something's happened to you and you're like, God, I'm in hell. So these videos help prepare you for those states of life when they happen. They're on the YouTube channel. Subscribe, share with your friends. Go ahead and hit the share button right now on the screen and share this out with your friends so that they can start thinking about working with their shadow as well and really presenting themselves as an authentic 100% person. And I will see you next Monday night. Kisses from Kentucky. Thank you guys for tuning in, and we'll stay tuned for part 2. Bye.